Hey everybody, Joe Flip here. Today I'm going to show you how I'm currently using my Ampero Hotone pedal. So let's get into it. Alright, so my clean channel. So I usually use this for more of the country stuff. I'll kick this on for the phaser. Alright, so that's my clean channel. So I kind of customize my 3 channels here. Now if I want a little more dirt or overdrive, I click on channel 2. So this one has a little bit more dirt, so I'll show you the example. Channel 2. So, you know, it's kind of good for some, bluesy stuff. So now if I want to add a little more dirt, I have this option that basically adds a little more overdrive. Here's how by itself with a little more overdrive. Alright, so then if I want more drive, so like maybe for some, like I do a lot of 70s rock, classic rock, kind of like ZZ Top or Allman Brothers, that kind of thing. Now this button, it gives me a little bit more overdrive and it gives me a little bit of delay. So without it, and with it. Alright, and then I also have the wah pedal option on channel 2 and 3. So again, I have channel 1, clean. I have the option to add phaser. Channel 2 is a little bit more dirtier. Then the option to add more dirt. Channel 3 is more, with a little bit more and a little bit more delay. So that's how I use it. I try to keep it pretty simple. Obviously you can go into all kinds of different channel banks, and they have all these different presets and everything. I personally haven't used much of that stuff. I just try to keep it simple with basically 3 channels here. So, they have a drum machine, they have a looper pedal built in. There's all kinds of different options. If you want to go and kind of manually mess with the details here, so like for example on channel 1, my little secondary option is this effects 2 pedal. So that turns the phaser off and on. And then I can mess with the amp options and the cabinet options, the EQ, reverb, so all kinds of different settings. Same thing on channel 2. So this one I'm using, it's called a force drive for my overdrive pedal. So I'll show you what options I'm using here. Channel 1 looks like I'm using a Bassman Bright for the amp and a Bassman 4x10 for the cabinet. And then for the phaser, it looks like I'm using a 90 phaser. Channel 2, my amp is Bassman Bright again, Bassman 4x10, so I'm using the same amp and cab. For my effect pedal overdrive, I'm using a force drive. And I think also what I'm doing, which is different on channel 2 versus channel 1, is I'm adding a little bit more of the amp dirt or gain on there. Channel 3, for the amp, I'm using this Tangerine R100. For the cab, I'm still using the Bassman 4x10. For the now on this one I have the force drive always on, and then when I click the button it gives me a little bit of the slapback delay, and it also gives me more of the overdrive. Alright, so and then as you're using these, you obviously can go in manually and change everything, but when you want to have, let's say you just kind of want to have 3 options to mess on the fly, you can customize like 3 options with these little knobs here. So like let's say I want to get all the levels sounding really even. So I like to have the patch volume on each one. So right now it's pretty even as far as the volume levels. So as you're playing, you might notice this one might be louder or quieter than channel 1. So I'll go in here and mess with it, turn it up or down. And once I do that, it doesn't save automatically, so you just have to go back and hit save. So you can mess with the effects gain. So you can choose, what options you want to manipulate in these 3 different options here. So the other option that's really cool that I like a lot is you can plug this up to your computer through like a USB drive, and it has this whole like free software program where basically it has this big option of all these options and effects and pedals, and you could change it in real time through your computer, and you can basically fly through all the options way faster. So if you want to go through tons of different amps and pedals and effects and everything. Which also is pretty cool too. So what I was doing is, for example, when I'm getting my clean tone, I couldn't decide between, I had like 2 or 3 amps I kind of dialed in that I kind of like, and 2 or 3 cabinets that I like, but I couldn't really decide exactly which one is which. So what I would do is I would basically have my clean setting channel 1, and I would copy that whole channel onto like channel 4, for example. So now there are duplicate options. And then I would just only change like just the amp on one of those channels, or just the cabinet on one of those channels. Then I can get a really close comparison of going back and forth. So that's kind of what I did. Or even if you want to try something and you might want to keep it for a couple of days and you want to go back, you can just duplicate the whole channel to somewhere else and you can go back to it later. So that's kind of the basics how I use this thing. Main rig that I use for most of my like solo duo shows. So I'll put all the links in the description if you want to check out more of the specific stuff I'm using. But I'm using a Voodoo Lab pedal supply, a Voodoo Lab pedalboard. This is a Valaton effect pedal with reverb, delay, and modulation. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but that's what I'm using. This is just a clean boost pedal. I believe I got it from a local music store. I think it was just a local guy that makes these kind of inexpensive. Just a standard tuner pedal. I really like these wireless systems by Sennheiser. I made a video kind of reviewing those. I'll link that in the description if you want to check those out. But yeah, these wireless things are pretty awesome. So for mine, I just put that inside here and I let it charge while I have the other wireless thing in my guitar.